our government representatives, Provincial Social Welfare Officer, Mrs. Sarah Banda Samiselo, Ministry of Community Development and Social Welfare, District Social Welfare representatives, Major Superiors, the clergy and the religious, the church and civil society, leaders and practitioners of institutional care, distinguished guests, may I simply say, ladies and gentlemen, honored delegates, as observed above, it is with great joy and deep appreciation that I welcome you all to this important dialogue meeting under the theme, Importance of Family-Based Care. On behalf of the ZAS chairperson, who could have loved to be here in person, it is truly an honor to be gathered here today with such esteemed individuals who are deeply, deeply committed to the welfare of children, families, and the greater community of faith. The clergy, the religious, civil society, and our lay faithful, and all of us who are gathered here from different walks of life. We are the players in the care reform space and child welfare programs in this country. I'm sure every one of us would agree that family is the foundation of society and a source of nurturing love and guidance. As clergy, religious leaders, and practitioners, we are entrusted with the responsibility of promoting, safeguarding the well-being of the most vulnerable among us, particularly children who require care, stability, and a sense of belonging. It is within the family that children first experience love, values, and faith, shaping them into responsible and compassionate individuals. The concept of family-based care is one that aligns with our moral, ethical, and spiritual convictions. We believe that children thrive best in the warmth of a family environment rather than in institutional settings. In saying this, we are not demonizing institutional care, no, but it should be the last resort. The role of faith-based organizations, religious leaders, and practitioners in advocating for and implementing family-based care cannot be overstated. Therefore, today's dialogue provides us with a unique opportunity to share insights, best practices, and strategies that will strengthen our efforts in ensuring that every child has the opportunity to grow up in a loving and supporting family setup. As we embark on today's discussions, let us be guided by a shared commitment to act with compassion, wisdom, and faith. Let us explore innovative ways to support families, empower communities, and collaborate effectively to promote a culture of care that prioritizes the well-being of children. We were all once children, I believe. Mr. Banda, were you born an adult?
No.
Okay, maybe people from the East feel they came on earth as adults. We were all once children, and because of the good family care and love, we have grown into useful adults and good citizens of our country, contributing to the common good of society. I encourage each one of you to actively participate, Share your experiences and contribute to this meaningful conversation. Together, we can make a significant difference in shaping policies and practices as practitioners of care reforms that upholding the dignity and rights of children. Once again, I extend my heartfelt welcome to each one of you. May this gathering be fruitful, inspiring, and transformative. Having said these few words, I now declare this dialogue meeting officially opened. And thank you, and may we be blessed in our endeavors. Thank you very much.
Sister, thank you so much for that wonderful remarks. At this time, I'm going to invite Mr. Banda, Sister Catherine, to come and talk about the objectives. Sister Catherine, please. She couldn't take this.
Welcome to our objectives of the meeting. I know we've been wondering, how is the meeting going to be? So here with me, I'm just going to take you through the objectives of the meeting so that even as we'll be discussing, we'll know what we'll be discussing on. So as earlier already mentioned, the theme for our dialogue meeting, we are looking at the importance of family-based care. So the first objective of our meeting, we've thought of calling every one of you who has been in the system to ensure that the children have been reintegrated. So we just want to engage you as participants in the very meaningful discussions on the benefits of family-based care in ensuring that the well-being, development, and the protection of children compared to the institution care is upheld. Then the second objective is that we want to learn and also share the best practices. I know within ourselves there have been facilities that have been practicing, that have been engaged in the activity of reintegration. So for those facilities, we would want to hear from your sharing how this program has been. Like you share the successful models that you've been doing and also the strategies for strengthening the family-based care, including the foster care, kinship, and family reunification programs by practitioners, all of us who are here. Then the third objective would want to identify and discuss the challenges. I know in every activity there are some challenges. So these are the things that we would want to hear and also to discuss and also to see how best we can overcome the challenges. So we're going to identify the common obstacles to implementing the family-based care, such as the policy gaps. We have our government representatives here, the financial constraints, and also the society perspectives and the discussion, and to discuss the possible solutions. Then the third objective would want to encourage the stakeholders. We are working with our stakeholders, the collaborators, to foster the dialogue upon the policymakers, the social workers, community leaders and caregivers to enhance the support system and create policies that will prioritize the family-based care. So concerning our objectives, they're just not coming from nowhere. So as ZAS, we want also to know where these objectives are coming from. So I'll just give you a brief history of the project, which is the Catholic for Children in Zambia, which is managed by Zambia Association of Sisterhoods. So this is one of the baby projects for ZAS. So Catholic Care for Children is a social project under the Zambia Association of Sisterhoods, which is trying to respond to the social teaching of the church, whose roots are from the Bible that promotes the dignity of human life, the preparation for the poor, and also responding to the United Nations on the Convention of Children's Rights. So the project started in 2019, whose the goals are there. Whenever you are free, you can always go through and then see the goals and the objectives. So the project goal is to improve the well-being of children in Zambia by promoting and providing the long-term and positive family-like care and protection. So in all that we are doing, we are looking at the well-being of the child by trying to promote and support the positive long family bonds that a child needs to have. And also its objectives are three. As much as we are trying to protect the children who have been separated from the families, would also want to ensure that as these children have been separated and they have been brought into the child care facilities, as soon as the children have been brought into the child care facilities, they will stay in that child care facilities for a period of time until the problem that was led to their separation is discussed and resolved. And then we'll have to see that these children return back into their homes. Then the second objective is to build the capacity of ZAS and the facilities. That's why we have the facilities here and the staff and the ZAS staff. This project cannot be done without the capacity. So we need to know the know-how of how to ensure that we have improved the well-being of children in Zambia. And also the project objective number 3, to to positively influence the system level change through networking. So that's why we are here for this meeting, the dialogue meeting. Whatever is going to be discussed from this meeting, it's also going to improve on the level system, and also we are acting like advocates for these children because we know what these children are facing, and from whatever we are going to discuss, we can also push it to the government to see how best they can include our discussions in their policies. So as I earlier mentioned, the project started in 2019. I know we've been keeping the child care facilities for so many years. But under ZAS, this project was started in 2019, and we started with 33 child care facilities, of which 4 are institutions or homes that are keeping vulnerable children and orphans, their residential care. And then we've got 5 facilities which are keeping children, the girls who are at risk. Then we've got 8 facilities who are keeping children with disabilities. And then we've got 5 children with disabilities. Among the disabilities, there are those which are school, and then there are those which are residential, like they just have to keep the children there. Then are street connected. So among the that 97% of these child care facilities are owned by the religious sisters. So that's why we have our religious representatives here, because they are the owners of the institutions, although not all of them are here. And then 21 child care facilities are managed by the diocese. That's why we have the clergy here. Unfortunately, we could not manage to have the bishop in our midst here. And then we've got 3% who are managed by few individuals, but they are affiliated to the Catholic Church. So when we did the pilot project, like to start to test the waters of reintegration, 2 facilities were picked on board. And then the target for the 2 facilities was 65, which was our target. But then as we were doing the reintegration, we managed to reintegrate 70 children from the 2 child care facilities, which is Lubasi Children's Home, managed by the founder, Mr. Anton Rajan there, and also St. Martin's Children's Home, whose the Superior General is not around, but we've got the facility in charge, Sister Petronella, our moderator. Then the status of the project. The project is in 2 folds. We've got what we call the Children in Families Plus, where we work with our partners who are there from different organizations, working under Lusaka province to ensure that the child care facilities within Lusaka province also reintegrate the children back into their families. So on the Children Plus, we don't work specifically with the Catholic institutions. It's all the institutions under Lusaka province, but as ZAS, we provide our services, and different also partners like Alliance for Children Everywhere provide a certain activity. CRS also provide different activities, and then the district, they are the bosses on this platform. That's why they are there. Then we have also the Children in Family ongoing. This is now where we as ZAS take care of the Catholic affiliated residential child care facilities, which are the majority even in our country, Zambia. So the project now is in its 3rd phase, phase 3, which started in 2022, ending next year in 2026. So in the 3rd phase of the project, as I mentioned, first we started with 2, and then in this period of time, we have added 3 more facilities, which is Mutunzi, Shetekelo, and Kachema Musuma, who are here. So the title of this project is to expand. Like we've seen the good results from phase 2, so we thought now of expanding, like we bring on board 3 more child care facilities to see how the reintegration would be done. So we are expanding the Catholic facilities to transition to family and community-based care and providing greater community support to care for the vulnerable children. So we are not closing, but then we are expanding, and also we are transitioning from institution care into community-based. Children can still be cared for in the community where it's a family-like setup. And then the areas, these are the areas that I've already mentioned. So the core of the project in phase 3 was to feed in, because whatever we do, we are not doing it by ourselves as us, but also we are getting what the government is also promoting. So it's to feed into the overall strategic goals of the Ministry of Community Development and Social Services, with a focus on scaling up reintegration and supporting effective programs that link families to support systems. So in all our activities, we are just working with the government to ensure that their goal is achieved. So the focus areas is to scaling up the reintegration, working with the 5 child care facilities, strengthening gatekeeping mechanism by working with the communities warfare assistance committees. So as we are doing the reintegration, we don't do it by ourselves. We also work with the grassroots structures that which have been recognized by the government. So we have tapped in from the government structure to also get some help or some assistance from these structures which are there, because reintegration is quite complicated, and then as facilities they cannot do it by themselves. So once we are working with the CWACs, they are able even to advise, also even to take care of the child who has been reintegrated home. Then we have also focused on engaging the church structures, like the bishops, the religious leaders, the clergy, to pursue the systematic change. As we can see, this project is a donor fund project, and then thinking ahead in case the donors are there, how do we continue the program? That's why we have thought of working with the church structures. Unfortunately, we couldn't have a bishop in our midst, but we've been working with 3 bishops here in Zambia to ensure that even the church can take part into the reintegration using the church structures. Like we did a pilot project in the Copper Belt in Dola Diocese, where we worked with the St. Francis Parish together with the Church Council executive who are here, also to reintegrate a child, which was very successful. I hope Father is going to share. Then also supporting the families with economic packages and providing reintegration packages to children. We understand the situation where we are coming from as a country, to say there are high levels of poverty. So how do we ensure that these children, even when we take them home for reintegration, are safe and they have the basic needs? So we ensure that we give a package. We don't just throw the children into the communities, but we look at the economic situation of that household where this child is going to, and as a project, we support it with a small package, and also with a child. The child also goes with a package just to help the family push on the poverty situation that is at home. So briefly, this is the overview of a project, the Catholic Care for Children in Zambia, and I end here. Thank you so much for your listening. wonderful sister.
Thank you so much, Sister Catherine.
Thank you.
We have come very far with this project. Some of us were even resisting because we wanted to have the children in the facilities. We were like, this is our charism. How can you take the children from us? So we thank all those people who have been behind us, trying to make us understand how important it is to raise the children in the families. At this time, I want to invite Father Monga to come and shed more light on this. Let us be attentive to understand, so that if we have questions or arguments, Father is here to direct us. How important it is to have the children in our homes. Father Monga, please.
Good morning again. Good morning. I want to place a disclaimer before I start my presentation. Naturally, I'm a very fast speaker, but I want to try by every means, in order for my presentation to remain relevant to this gathering, to slow myself. Otherwise, I'll start feeling like I'm in church and I'm expecting Amen, Father. But I have to really go slow, and that I communicate something. Before I dive into my presentation, because my task is very simple, it's just to highlight what is already written, what is a biblical perspective, and what is the social teaching of the church saying about the current situation. But before, I just want to push in my word that at the end of my presentation, if my presentation is going to remain relevant, what I'm trying to communicate personally is that when we come to talk about family life has its own place. And there's only one place for family life, and that is, or nurturing children, it is in the family. That is all. So in the spirit of one of the documents that was written by the church in 1995, it was in 1975, promulgated on the 8th of December, titled Evangelii Nunciandi. There's a quotation that I like there by Pope Paul VI in paragraph 14. Pope Paul VI in paragraph 14 of this document, when referring to the task or the mission of the church, he said, evangelization is not the major task of the church. In fact, it is the only task. To an extent where if you want to do anything, you are just trying to do that something in order to aid the mission of the church, which is only singular. It is one, which is the evangelization. And so in that same spirit, I want also to make a statement related to that family is the only place for nurturing children. It's not the main place, it is the only institution mandated to nurture. To an extent where if we have initiatives like we have of having these facilities of caring for children, just know that they're just there to aid the family. Because the honor is the family of nurturing, growing, and educating children. So even when sisters, we are so grateful, we appreciate your participation, your contribution is so enormous. We are not downplaying it in any way. But always remember the task to educate, to grow, to nurture a child is in the family. That is the only institution. So these other institutions, when they come in place, we come in as a support system. We are just a support system. We are not in any way taking up the responsibility of family. The responsibility of family can never be replaced by anyone. But we are just as a support system. And there's a difference between being the sole owner and being a support system. So our institutions should be understood with that background that we are there as a support system. And so if we are a support system, it means we have our boundaries. We can go up to a certain extent. At another extent, we have to find a way of reintegrating the children where they belong, where they come from. For me, that would be the greatest intervention that we'll ever make. That is going to have at the back of the mind to say, well, at the end of the day, how do we reconcile these children back into family setup? In whatever way, when I talk about family, I have in mind of the extended system. Biologically, the actual family might not be there, but other families can still be called upon to take up that child as their own and make all necessary interventions. That is my thought on this, apart from my task of presenting what the biblical perspective is about the topic of today. Now, coming back to my responsibility, what is the biblical foundation of family life? What does the Bible say about family life? And later on, what does the church say about the family life? When you go into the scriptures, the fundamental Bible passage that talks about the family life is, of course, the famous Genesis story, chapter 1. When God creates a human person in his own image and likeness. There comes the dignity of a human person. That a person carries this dignity by the fact that they come from the hand of God, that we are an initiative of God. Just like family life. A family is an initiative of God. Of course, I'm aware that even in the history of the Bible, some things went wrong somewhere. So for me, when I talk about this foundation, I'm talking about the Garden of Eden experience, that state of original innocence, which God pronounced, this is good. When God pronounced this is good, he pronounced the creation of a human person and other created order as saying this is good. So that original state of innocence in the Garden of Eden should be the one that should guide us, that a family is good and the family must be good. But has it been like that in history? No. The problem started in Genesis chapter 3. Where we are, the whole story, these things that we are trying to put interventions to, they started in Genesis chapter 3. I want to take it for granted that we know what happened in Genesis chapter 3. The story of the sin of Adam and Eve, which has famously come to be called the original sin. Now, what happened there? Adam and Eve sinned. I'm using these words carefully, because being a priest, all my words must be baptized. That's why I have to, if you have a problem with the word sin and whatever, please bear with me. I have to baptize all my words here. So Adam and Eve sinned. And Adam, in their sin, responded by blaming his wife. In response, the wife also responded by blaming the snake, the serpent. Now, remember, these two, Adam and Eve, they parented 2 male children. And when you follow that story, one of these sons, we know the story of the original murder. One of the sons killed the brother. This is a family setup. Things already are becoming disoriented here. Then quickly, when you jump, you go to the story of Adam. It's still in Genesis, Abraham, in Genesis. Abraham was the God-chosen man. He married 2 wives. Already again he abrogates you people, I want you to see how far where we're coming from. He married 2 wives, breaking God's design of marriage. God created a man and a woman. But already inside the scriptures, Adam, the favored one of God, was the first one. He marries 2 wives, breaking God's design. And he eventually kicked out 1 wife. Again, divorce. God did not intend that marriages should end in divorce. But Abraham, if you remember, he kicked out one of the wives and her child. Jacob, the continuation is Jacob. Now, he brought it to another level. He married several wives. And like his grandfather, he abrogates what God intended. His 12 sons, remember the story? Eventually sold their young brother into slavery. This is already family disintegration and disagreement. We come to the story of David. David too espoused many wives, and his son raped one of his sisters. Then the daughter's brother, Absalom, killed the son that raped her. When we consider the biblical narrative, we see many family relationships that were broken at that time. By what? By sin. And today's story that we are trying to come in to intervene is not different from what already we have established. Sin still destroys family relationships. And therefore, we don't have to kind of, I want to challenge, we should always go back and forth to what was God's original plan of family life. Because God's original plan will never change. Even with these abnormalities, the anomalies that are taking place, God's original plan must be at the back of our mind. And so when we talk about God's original plan, what are we now talking about? The Bible, regarding the issue of family life, emphasizes the importance of family as a foundation for love, support, education, and growth. It provides guidance, that is the Bible I'm referring. It provides guidance on the roles, responsibilities, and relationships within a family, encouraging harmony and mutual respect. And here are some of the key Bible quotations, if you like, apart from what I've given, Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 and follow, if you can go up to 28. Families are called, number one, families are called to live in love and unity. Love and unity are essential components of family life. We can get this from 1 Corinthians chapter 13. This Bible passage describes love as the patient, kind, and enduring. Now, these are qualities that are essential in a family relationship. The family must always be bound by love and unity. That is what St. Paul is telling us in 1 Corinthians. But also there's an aspect of parenting that when you read Ephesians chapter 6, verses 4 and following, parents are instructed to nurture and guide their children. This is their primary role, to nurture and guide their children. You can refer this also to Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6. It says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will never depart from it. Ephesians 6 verse 4, like I said, advises parents to raise their children with discipline and instruction in the Lord. But also, for the children, they are given this task in the family, that the children are encouraged to honor and obey their parents. Already when you go to Exodus chapter 20 in the 10 Commandments, it is stipulated. Children are encouraged to honor and obey their parents. That is Exodus chapter 20 verse 12. It says, honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. But also there are instructions that are given to a couple. Of course, for us, we talk about a family that comes from a couple, a man and a woman. Of course, there are many other things that have crept in, other theories that are coming in now of homosexuality, where people think a man and a man can marry and have children and nurture children. A woman and a woman can come together and they adopt children and nurture children. For me, I'm talking about the original idea of God. That when you talk about marriage, it must be between a man and a woman. And the church is very clear on that score. The Bible highlights mutual love and respect in marriage. If you read Ephesians chapter 5, verses 25. This passage urges husbands to love their wives and as Christ loved the church, while wives are called upon to respect their husbands. But also for a marriage, for a family to hold, for a marriage to sustain, there are also virtues that we need to promote within marriages, like forgiveness and compassion. When you read Colossians chapter 3 verse 13, it says, bear with each other and forgive one another if any of you has a grievance against someone. No matter how much grieved you may be in a family setup, the only way out is forgiveness, compassion, and reconciliation. There's nothing like running away from a home setup, from a family setup, or chasing one member of the family from a family setup. We must be together. We must be glued together. And so you can get that these principles from the Bible aim to foster a strong, caring, and God-centered family relationships. This is what the Bible is endeavoring to do. To foster a strong, caring, and God-centered family relationships. And when you go deep and to understand this concept, there are other Bible passages that we can make reference to. For instance, 1 Peter chapter 4 verse 8 says, above all, love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins. Again, I come back to Ephesians 4. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is the right thing to do. Honor your father and your mother, if your days are to abound. Marriage and partnerships. We find this in Ephesians chapter 5 verses 22 to 25. It says, wives, submit yourselves to your own husband as you do to the Lord. Husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. The aspect of forgiveness and unity is also found in Ephesians chapter 4 verse 32, when it says, be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other just as in Christ God forgave us. So these themes, my dear brothers and sisters, are coming back and forth, trying to emphasize and build on the element that there's no other institution out there that has a mandate of building a sound family with the values founded on God's principles. That a father, a mother, or you'll call them wife and husband, and then the children, all of them are glued to this aspect of family life. But the question still remains, if this is the teaching of a church, why is it that we still find ourselves in a situation where there are children that are on the streets, there are children that are out there that have no one to care for them? Until now, we need to come up with initiatives such as the Catholic Care for Children in Zambia. Where have we gotten it all wrong? I think that is where we need to deliberate. I'm not here to provide the answer to that, but we need to deliberate and see what is it that has gone wrong and how possible is it that we can correct it. I'm happy that the people from government also are here, because the principles and values are very, very important. Not too long ago, the president was talking about this in Parliament, principles and values, morals. And so to what extent does the government go to inculcate these principles and values in a human life, especially with a focus of building strong families? Because here's the thing, without a strong family, you can never have a strong leadership. Sometimes we complain about politicians. These politicians are bad, they are thieves, they are corrupt, they are this and that. Where do they come from? From families. So when you attack a politician, you are indirectly attacking a family institution. And this is how deep and serious this must be considered. For the government, for me, the clarion call is never abandon the church. The church has a special wisdom that it can shed in order to help guide and safeguard, especially when it comes to issues of morals and faith. The church can never afford to ignore, the government cannot afford to ignore the church. What about the church? What is the church saying about the issues of family life? Now, there are a lot of documents that have pronounced the issue of family life. The Catholic Church in her social teachings has pronounced herself clearly based on a number of documents. What are some of these documents? Number one, there's a document called Gaudium et Spes. We have a document called the Lumen Gentium. We have a document we call the Catechism of the Catholic Church. We have a document that we call Familiaris Concessio. These are Latin words in case I mispronounce them. There's a document also called Amoris Laetitia. I think this is the latest one, commenting on family life. What are these documents all about? I just want to give a short background. The Gaudium et Spes. The Gaudium et Spes is also known in English as the pastoral constitution on the church in the modern world. This document was composed at the Vatican Council, Second Vatican Council, and it was promulgated by Pope Paul VI in 1965. This document covers a broad range of topics, including an entire section on marriage and family. For instance, when you read the Gaudium et Spes, paragraph 48, it says, and I quote, "The intimate partnership of married life and love has been established by the Creator and qualified by His laws, and is rooted in the conjugal covenant of invocable personal consent. For God Himself is the author of matrimony, endowed as it is with various benefits and purposes. All of these have a very decisive bearing on the continuation of human race, on the personal development and eternal destiny of the individual members of a family, and on the dignity, stability, peace, and prosperity of the family itself and the human society as a whole." When you read the end of quote, by the way, when you read this citation, it is emphasizing on the foundation of marriage being in God. That the initiative of a family life is the initiative of God. And what is the initiative of God, my brothers and sisters? Human beings have no right to alter. Human beings have no right to change. This is a given. Don't start bringing an initiative which is not yours and start speaking into it using something contrary. The initiative of God is that a family comes from God, from a marriage of a man and a woman. And all the other bearing consequences and the continuation of the human race shall always be based on a sound family system. And that we should not change. We should actually reflect and try to understand much deeper. How can we best participate in this continuation of human race? By adhering to the original idea of a family life. I go back to what I started with. Sisters, dear brothers and sisters, reverend fathers, even every initiative that we are going to come up with in caring for children that have been thrown out in the street must have at the end of it the original design of God. After helping the children, after supporting the children, after sending the children to school, after giving the children what they need, at the end of the day ask a question: how do we now reintegrate these children to the family? For me, if you miss out on that question, it is like you want to usurp the powers of family life. But at the end of the day, and I'm happy the way sister has come out when she was doing the origins of this whole initiative. I'm happy that she has ended by that. That the idea is about reintegration. What we are doing in between are just the interventions in order for us to have the capacity and means to reintegrate. Even for those that are scared to say, now what about our charism? Where do you put our charism? Sister, I want to tell you, like the Bible says, the poor and the vulnerable, you have them always. That's what Jesus answered Judas Iscariot. He said, give the poor, you are going to have them. But for me, you may not have me for some time, because I have to go back to my family. But the poor and the vulnerable, you will have them. Because you never attain a perfect society as long as we continue journeying on this earth. So that end point is important to the work that we are doing, in whichever way we are doing it. The other quotation, you can read some of these at your own time, is the Gaudium et Spes, paragraph number 52. Just a statement from there. I will not quote the whole paragraph. The statement from there said, the children especially the younger members among them, need the care of their mother at home. This domestic role of a mother must be safely preserved through legitimate social progress of women who should not be underrated on this account. This is Gaudium et Spes, paragraph 52. The children need the care of their parents. No matter how much caring we may be, let us remember, children will need the care of their parents. How? If in case their parents are not there, how? That is what we need to brainstorm. To ensure that these children are never deprived and denied of this right. So the other document was the Lumen Gentium. What is this document? This document is a Second Vatican Council document. Again, Constitution on the Church. This document also says in paragraph 11, it says, in virtue of the sacrament of matrimony, by which they signify and share the mystery of the unity and faithful love between Christ and the Church, Christian married couples help one another to attain holiness in their married life and especially in the rearing of their children. This is one of the things we should, emphasize so much as we are trying to reintegrate the children. That parents who refuse to nurture and rear their children are missing on the opportunity of holiness. Because holiness will ensue from the fact of parents, the couples, taking care of or raising up children. This is a path to holiness, according to Lumen Gentium, paragraph 11. There are many quotations that are dedicated, but I wouldn't want to bore you with all these. I'm just going to a few of them. The Catechism of the Catholic Church. This is a sacred teaching of the Catholic faith, by the way. This document is a teaching of the Catholic faith. Everything that we have and are as Catholics is found in this document called the Catechism of the Catholic Church, abbreviated as CCC. 3 C's. CCC. Catechism of the Catholic Church. So this one speaks volumes, and many documents actually heavily borrow from this catechism. Here, I also want to quote. Now, this one is from Gaudium et Spes, but it's contained in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, paragraph 50, number 1. In 1964, unity, that is what the Catechism says. In 1964, unity, indissolubility, and openness to fertility are essential to marriage. Polygamy is incompatible with the unity of marriage. Divorce separates what God has joined together. And so the refusal of fertility turns marriage life away from its supreme gift. What is the supreme gift of marriage? Children. And they must be treasured. This is what the Catechism of the Catholic Church is saying in paragraph 1. You can find time again to read that. So that's why now the issues of homosexuality, where people think they can come as a couple, even when there's no child, they can just go and adopt a child and come and claim that this is our child and everything. It falls short of this statement. For us, a child is the greatest treasure and gift of a couple that has come together in union of marriage. The other document is the Humane Vitae. Of course, why can't I quote such a document? Father Sidi. Humane Vitae. The Humane Vitae, this document was promulgated in 1968 by St. Paul VI. It was actually an encyclical. This encyclical teaches about God's design for married love and the gift of life. The Holy Father teaches that the modern question about spacing and limiting births in marriage is important. It must, however, be considered within the context of God's design for married love. Already you can know what this document is talking about. Married love is faithful, total, permanent, and fruitful. Its nature exists to create a communion of persons and to participate with God in bringing new life into the world. That is procreation. Included in the teachings of this document, a discussion of the immorality of contraception. direct sterilization, and abortion, which are always intrinsically evil, as described in this document called Humanum Vitae, and the morality of natural family planning. So when you read, for instance, the Humanum Vitae paragraph number 8, it says, marriage and conjugal love are by their nature ordained towards procreation and education of children. Children are really the supreme gift of marriage and contribute in the highest degree to their parents' welfare and holiness. Again, the aspect has come back. Children actually must be looked at as a means to holiness. This is what we should teach those people that have abandoned their children, that do not care for the children who end up being on the street. Let us remind them that they're missing on the aspect of holiness. Those children that God has given them are a perfect avenue or opportunity to be holy human beings. Who wouldn't want to be holy anyway? It is a very interesting document, the Humanum Vitae. This is a document where we fight so much with the doctors when it comes to issues of contraceptives and the issue of abortion. It has pronounced itself so deeply. The other document is Familiaris Concessio. This apostolic exhortation by Pope John Paul II, now sent in 1980, addresses the place of the Christian family both in the church and in the modern world. At the service of both life and love, the Christian family must seek its identity in the divine Creator, participate in the mission of the church, and work to effect change in society. Catholic teachings on marriage, conjugal love, and responsible parenthood, you find them in here deeply, and the methods of natural family planning are also discussed. Pope John Paul II, in his exhortation on the role of the Christian family in the modern world, extensively pronounced himself. For instance, in the same document, Familiaris Concessio, FC, paragraph 56, says, the sacrament of marriage is a specific source and original means of sanctification for Christian married couples and families. And then in paragraph 18 of the same document, Familiaris Concessio, it says, the family, which is founded and given life by love, is a community of persons, of husbands and wife, of parents and children, of relatives. Now, let me expand this a bit. This document actually, I think this is where you get your mandate. In whatever you are doing, all the organizations that are here, your mandate is here. When you talk about integrating children in families, some of those children, admittedly, they don't have their biological families per se. Even their extended families cannot be traced. But for us here, when we talk about a family, we extend it to the entire community. We extend it to a community of believers, even non-believers. To an extent where a child who roams the street, you get them, take them into a facility, into an orphanage and whatever. When you say time has come for them to be integrated into their families, you can easily identify even a couple within a community that can be willing to take up that child as their own and pledge themselves that they will help to nurture and to grow that child in a way that is designed by God. That still becomes integration of children in those families. Let us not limit the integration only to biological families, nuclear families, or extended families. But in this sense, extended families actually for us, we talk about the entire community. And for me, I don't believe in a society you can fail to find someone who is willing to adopt a child and put them into a home set up, that they grow up with their fellow children, that they are being instructed and educated under the care of a figure called father and mother. Always there will be someone out there who will be willing. And this actually for me should give us more mandate and strength. This document, Familiaris Concessio, the Pope here has pronounced himself. These children can have new relatives. If you are worried on how these children are going to be brought up, that's why now we need to discuss facilities or opportunities where you can call a couple, train them, how you want them to bring up children and whatever. Then after you empower them and the like, then you surrender that child to that family. You have also still more integrated those children in that family. When you are doing that, actually, you are walking what the social teachings of the church are telling us. You are not doing anything outside the teachings of the church. So, when you look at all this, plus others that I've not cited here, Amoris Laetitia and whatever, there's a paragraph of Amoris Laetitia. Amoris Laetitia is a document by Pope Francis. This is a post-synodal apostolic exhortation on love in the family. This document is a beautiful document. You do well also to go through it. In this document, Pope Francis shares with the church his teaching and encouragement regarding pastoral ministry to marriages and families, and the great vocation and mission that married couples and families are called to live out. Now, in this document, one of the action points that has come out of this post-synodal apostolic exhortation is that there are priests now that are specifically being trained in this theology of family life. We have a number of them in different dioceses. I know in my diocese we already have about 2 that have been trained in that regard. At St. Dominic's there at the major seminary, we have actually even others that have gone as far as the PhD. They are doctors in the studies of the family life. This came as the Holy Father appealed to all the dioceses to at least send a priest to go and do further studies in a family life. That how do we define family life without vying away from the original setup as designed by God Himself? And I think we would do well also to deeply understand. So one of the paragraphs here says, few human joys are as deep, as thrilling as those experienced by 2 people who love one another and have achieved something as a result of a great shared effort. What is that thing achieved? Educating the children. This is paragraph 130. Bringing up children is the greatest achievement that can bring an endless joy to a couple, to a family. So I thought I should share on that score. I didn't come here to give my own thoughts, but I thought I should share with you what the church says about what we are discussing today. And I would end my presentation here. Thank you so much.
Father, where have you been all this time? So we are like the only institution that can keep the child. Is which institution? Are we together here? The only, there's no alternative. The only institution that can keep the child is children as means of holiness. Wow. You know, we were thinking it's like a burden to take care of the children. Now here we are being told children as means of. That is profound. That is wonderful. Father has mentioned unity in the family, love, nurturing. Some of us, we are guilty here. We have been fighting to try to keep the children in our institution because it's our charism. What else can we say now? Thank you so much for that insightful and inspiring presentation, Father. You have truly left us with valuable takeaways. Your words have given us a fresh perspective and a lot to think about. We truly appreciate the time and effort you have put into sharing your knowledge with us today. Which clap are we going to give our Father? You know, I'm going to say we are going to give a clap, American clap. You know what that means? You start clapping and standing up. Okay? One by one, and we keep on clapping. Okay, can we give that clap to Father, please? Thank you so much, Father. Please get seated. We really appreciate that. Allow me this time to acknowledge the Vice Chairperson, Sister Valeria Cavasso. You are welcome, Sister. I don't know before we go for a break if there are questions for Father or affirmation or subtraction. Anything for Father? Yes, please.
Father, I don't really know what to say. I was just listening to Mukana to say, wow, what manner of knowledge. You've been to school, been learning a lot of things here and there, but you just put it in one. Within a short presentation. And it's my prayer that going forward, probably we could invite more of our institutions, not just the Catholic ones, including the others that are run by private individuals who have this message. So insightful. Within a short, how I wish you can actually share that presentation with us. Yeah. But all in all, I think whatever you preached here is in tandem with our Children's Court Act that says that institutionalization should be a measure of last resort. It may not be biblical in that sense, but whatever you say here is actually in line with that. The family is the most important institution that we have. And we should embrace that. And I think it's about time we started preaching again. It's like we've lost our morals as families. So how I wish we can have a symposium where we can preach that kind of knowledge. Thank you, Father. Thank you.
Yes, Father?
Mine is first and foremost an acknowledgement and recommendation for the wonderful presentation from Father Collins. But ensuring from his presentation there is a question that is actually not directed at him, but maybe to the government. Yes. We are talking about family as the ideal, the best place where the children should be nurtured and should grow. Now we know very well that things are not always as they are supposed to be. That's why we ended up having institutionalized places where children come to stay, like the sisters orphanages, and many other institutions have come up with orphanages. Now we have reached the point where we are saying now there should be integration. Of course, some of these children, families are there, you can trace them. Some even extended families can be found. What about those who cannot find any relative, not even extended? Is there any other legislative provision apart from adoption? You know, adoption of a child using the legal framework is a tedious process. It's not a simple thing. It calls for a lot of requirements and qualifications. I remember when we were growing up, sometimes you are playing, you realize that your friend is getting dark and is not going. There's no one to go. I remember sometimes we would go with that friend first. Let's go quad. Then we go to home. Sometimes our parents would, what about your friend? Then you would whisper, no, can he stay here? Can he stay here? Then you find that he's welcome. We never used to, like, the parents would not report the matter to police. They'll just take them in. And sometimes I have known some people who have grown in families which are not their relatives, but they grow and they become good. Is there any legislative provision to allow children to be taken up by people who are not their relatives, apart from adoption?
So my colleague will come in, and then I'll come in later with me.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. frank, my BP is high.
Just responding to what Father Sidney has said, the Children's Code Act actually has those provisions. And it's like you were in the mind of government at the time we were coming up with the act. We recognize the fact that some children may not have families. And there are provisions in the act, which of course, one of the options which are there among the long-term solutions for our children in institutional-based care is adoption. The other one is foster care, where these foster parents, for example, in our parishes or wherever, they just feel that they can offer care to this child or children, they can foster them. Okay? Then the other one is kingship caring, is what exactly you explained, Father, where this is not my relation, but I feel I can offer care. So we are alive as government to the fact that there are those types of caring. So on our fora, where we are putting efforts together with ZATS and other partners, actually we are encouraging kingship caring. And I want to state to the fact that we have got some families which have come up and want to care. So kingship caring, it could be, maybe it's a child of a friend or in the neighborhood. I want to give an example of, there's one couple who have opened their door to a disabled child who was being cared for by the grandparents and the biological mother. Unfortunately, the grandmother died and the biological mother died, leaving the girl who was disabled in the care of the grandfather. So this couple stood and opened their home to embrace this child, and this child, as we speak, is being cared for by this couple who is not related to them, who have not really adopted this child, but they are kingship caring. So there are so many examples that we can give. Some of them it's informal, some of them it's formal. So as government, we are alive to that fact, and our plea as government is, if we can have the church, as we are mentioning, to be trained, to be formal parents, or even maybe as parishes, we are saying, can we have kingship carers? Can we have foster parents? Can we have prospective adoptive parents, so that we can go back to our original plan, if I may borrow from Father Monga. Thank you.
I think Father will follow you with your documents. All those documents you are mentioning, we need the names of those documents. At this time, I've been asked that. Oh, yes, sister, please. You can come here, sister.
Thank you so much, Father, for the wonderful teaching that you've given us. I don't know whether it's a question or it's my thought. I'm looking at government and all of us who are caregivers. I feel so scared for today's child, because we may look for kin, foster parents or whatever. Are we investigating the type of people where we are giving children? Because today there's a tendency of maybe a family would even come up and collect as many children as possible for their intentions. Tomorrow we'll find these children, they are doing other activities, they're in the brothel, there's child trafficking. So I feel scared. How much investigation are we doing before we surrender these children? I know you're going to say, sisters, we are trying to hold on to the children, but it's just, I feel so afraid for today's child. What are we doing to make sure that they are protected and they are safeguarded wherever they go?
Thank you so much, sister, for that question.
Thank you again. So I just want to bring this to the attention of everyone. I know we cannot be careful as government as pertaining to the human traffickers and things like that. But we believe as government, that's why we are working with everyone, including the community welfare assistance committees, so that we can all be on the lookout. When we see anything which is harming the child, we should be able to report and be whistleblowers. So for adoption, as earlier indicated, there are processes in this. So I would encourage all of us who are looking after children just to take keen interest and go through our act. And it is also important to give feedback where we feel there are lacunas and it's not clear and things like that. So because this is our document, this is our Zambian document, and it can only be used by us. So there are processes, sister, and of course we go into the homes of a person who wants to adopt the child or even foster the child. And I want to bring to the attention of this August House that we now have family court, a court which is just dealing with family issues, which we didn't have previously. So I know there are people have it at the back of their mind that adoption is tedious and there's got long processes. Even expecting a child, normally biologically, I've been privileged to expect one. It's not an easy process from conception to even giving birth. So it's not an easy process. So yes, adoption, we want to make sure that this person who is wanting to adopt this child is really qualifying to what our laws are providing. And also, I want to bring to your attention that we ask for reference of good standing. And we encourage that out of the 2 references that we ask for, which is here in the Act, we encourage the prospective adoptive parents and the foster care parents to seek that one of them, at least from the church, so that they tell us and say, who is this person? Are you allowing this person to go ahead and adopt or to foster? So for emergency foster parents, we also visit their homes and collect the information about the home and put it on the file, and we'll have documentation and say, Mr. and Mrs. Nurenda, they are foster parents. And we want to also, we are blessed, some of the people are of course from the church, but we want it to be broader so that we can have as many carers as possible. There's no need for a lost child to be institutionalized when we are there as mothers, as parents who can look after this child, and the child should move from my home to their home if they were wandering. So yes, there are modalities in place, but always we cannot be that careful unless we all come together. It takes a village to raise a child. Thank you.
Actually, sister, your question is very important, but I can assure you, because that's what we do. We don't just give the child like that. There is bonding. By the time we are doing that, the social workers would visit that home. There are questions, there are a lot of things that takes place. And after the child has gone, there is also follow-ups. We have to follow up. So at St. Martin's facility, I think that's why you have seen Father. We have, the child has gone home. Father was part and the parishioners were there. And they make sure that the community where the child has gone, they are part of that as well. In the case of anything, they will just give us a call. So we don't do this in isolation. The community is supposed to be in the know-how, then the government, then ourselves. So because of trafficking and what is going on, we are trying to be careful, though we cannot be that careful. But thank you so much for that. I'm told that this, yes please. You can come in front please.
For me, I think I'm attending this meeting for the first time. So as I was seated there, Father Monga doing a presentation, I think it's so thrilling and actually convincing to me. So I just got thinking, because already I saw some people from Kawambwa, others from Mondola, maybe some from Kitwe. And I'm thinking, just a suggestion because the trick now is how do you identify these families as it were with all these concerns that are there. So I'm thinking now, I think the parish priest, maybe through the bishop, I think should get so much interested so that deliberately, I think they should be able to get on board. Because when you are a parish, I think it's easy, you've been existed for a longer time. So you know who's this person and know that person. And some things when you bring them, other people will actually come in and then you know them. The challenge is that how do we now practically engage the parishes at that level now? Because I think that's a challenge that should go now to the parish priests, the bishops as well. Because already we've actually been talking about issues of it's a sponsored program and we know it may not be sustainable and stuff like that. But then if you start inculcating it within our parish levels, then we will have much more good result, and then we're going to, and I think the fears by the government and by the sister, those actually will be very, very much minimized. So the priest should be able to to be much more interested in this.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I know Father Monga is running, but I'm told that before he goes, we should take a picture with him outside. And then we'll have a break and we'll continue. Is that okay? Okay, thank you so much.
Sister, I'm here for our I'm still around that before.
Perfect. So, Mr. Daka, you hear that? Father's... Okay, so should we go for break or should we go for a picture?
We can have it and then we come for break.
Okay. We are all invited to go out and take a picture.
Te that every child finds a loving family to call their own.
What strategies can we implement to revive the family in the context of the church? We are looking at the strategies that we can use to implement reviving the family in the context of the church. Are we okay with the question? We have written it. Should I repeat? What strategies can we implement to revive the family in the context of the church? What strategies can we implement to revive the family in the context of the church? We are done with it? Thank you so much. No, it's not yet time up. Just allow me to introduce our visitor who has just come. We have Mr. Clement Chubuta, Social Senior Welfare Officer from the Ministry of Community Development and Social Services. Mr. Clement. We are happy to have you here. And how have you been?
we have because we have different families, so many people.
Every child is entitled to equal rights, equal rights. Every child has a right to a family, a loving family. Every child must be protected.
asked the question, what strategies can we implement to revive a family in the context of the church? And who are coming up with the strategies? We came up with 4 strategies on how we can implement, or how we can revive a family in the context of the church. And the strategies are here. The first one is awareness, creating awareness programs, promoting family as a value, as the first strategy, and then training in positive parenting. And then we came up with advocacy in partnership with government in rolling out new guidelines on children in facilities and outside facilities. And the fourth one, remodeling catechesis on marriage or preparation for marriage. Why did we come up with the first one? The awareness programs promoting family as a value. We looked at the way the family is, the concept of the family is being eroded, where we cannot accept children, or where we have children not feeling to be part of the family, or where we cannot accept even other children or other people from being amongst us or part of us. And so there is probably a way we can, or the church can provide through homilies by the priests to the parishioners or the people attending mass, that we uphold the family to be the highest. What were we saying? That's the highest. Father says something. Father Collins. The only place for nurturing children. So this is what the insistence is, that the church can promote this value, especially through the homily, and then it is rolled down also to the small Christian community, to the parishioners and everyone, so that we understand that this is the only place where children can grow up from. So this is the awareness program which the church can promote. And then the second one, training in positive parenting. There is a thought that modern parents are becoming busy in the sense that they have a very short time with their families, especially their children, because they have to look for money. They have to look for means for survival in many different ways. It is short. So children do not have that experience properly. And so the church is being encouraged to find a way to train modern parents to spend most of the time with their children, or to find a way, apart from their busy schedule, to accommodate the children so that they are also part and parcel of the family. They don't feel left out, or they do not grow up on their own, but they are raised up properly. We even gave an example in the discussion of the parents who were not working, who were stay-home parents, who used to inculcate values in their children, or in ourselves who are grown up now. That if we can find a way to train up the modern parents in raising up their children well in a family and in a positive way. Then advocacy in partnership with government in rolling out new guidelines on children in facilities and outside facilities. Government, we're told, is in the process of coming up with guidelines to find a way in where children can grow up in their homes and not in facilities. And so the church is urged to also partner with government, or be the means to disseminate this information so that it can reach out to other people. And also it can be accepted and everyone can be on board and part and parcel of this idea. So that children can also grow up in this home, which is the primary, how are you saying it, Father Collins? so that everyone understands, so that the parishes understand that families are the only place where children can grow up from. So the church can be part and parcel in disseminating this information and promoting it, advocating for it so that everyone understands, so that we do not have children on the street. Then remodeling catechesis on marriage or preparation for marriage. The church is also being encouraged to look at marriage, looking at the number of divorces. The statistics were given. Where is the social welfare officer? He has gone. How many thousands last year? About 26,000 divorces last year. So now the church has been encouraged to remodel its catechesis on marriage, so that marriages can stand the test of time, the way we learn it from the scripture, or Father Collins had mentioned earlier from Genesis chapter 1. The intention of God was between a man and a woman, and to live forever until death do them part. So the church has been encouraged to remodel its catechesis on marriage, so that there is that understanding that marriage is not temporal, but it should last. And because in marriage children come up as a gift, so they should also be considered. So the church to find a way, and as it remodels the catechesis, to also look at the children after the separation. When do we have the separation? What is it for the children? So they should be provided for and also helped, so that they do not have, we do not have a situation where children remain behind, are devastated, where they even plan to do even evil or harm to their parents for separating. So to find a way on how they can be considered. And then also to prepare children, not only at the time of marriage, but also as they are growing up, probably even including it in the school curriculum, or probably we mentioned the Holy Childhood, to see, to promote the values of family at the tender age or the earliest age, so that as they are coming now to learn about marriage, they would have known the value of family, or they would have known the importance of family, and then they can help to grow it in love and also in unity. So in short, these are the strategies which we came up as this group here.
Thank you so much, Group 1. Sister Catherine, I hope you are writing the interventions. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. At this time, we are going to have Group 2.
We've become Group 2 all of a sudden.
Yes.
I think this group was hearing us when we were discussing. I see a lot of
copy and paste.
Copy and paste. Happy Social Workers Day, Mr. Jeremiah. Yeah, so for our group 2, of course, borrowing a lot from the presentation from Father Monk, sin has caused havoc, and the church for us, I think, remains paramount. And we looked at 4 strategies. First one being marriage encounter sessions. I hope we all know this. Marriage counseling, you know, those sessions which are given to couples when they're about to settle. So this is to help, you know, in marriage preparations. We realize that the number of divorce cases has been on the rise. I think if you engage judiciary, especially the family and children's court, they will tell you that for last year, I think it surpassed the other year, and it's usually amongst the young people. So we are thinking maybe their marriages, there's something that is missing. There are gaps in terms of preparation, there are gaps in terms of orientation, and maybe gaps also in terms of parenting skills, especially in these days where internet seems to be our second parent. I think it's becoming difficult for many. So that's number one, very, very important, for all prospective these guys who want to settle or to marry, to really, really go through marriage encounter sessions. And then small Christian communities, we feel maybe there's more need for strengthening them and educate them on the importance of actually family-based care. Okay? So it's one strategic committee that can work as a gatekeeper, or they can act as gatekeepers, for the church, and raise awareness, discuss these issues, that are causing these problems like family separation in these communities, because they're almost like we're, in every community. Also, it can be used, to that. Oh yeah, okay. So we are also saying within the same committees, we can encourage also or revive the extended family system. We all know that, I don't know if it's still there, but a very small percentage. I think we are all going the Western world, or the Western way of nuclear family systems. So we are saying, I think we heard from the presentation, it takes the whole community to raise a child. So we are thinking in an event that maybe this family is failing to, take care of their child or their children, we can connect them to the extended family systems, so that we don't have a situation where children have to be separated and ending up maybe in child care facilities. We're talking about growing the youth movement, or creating a platform where support is provided for individuals going through substance abuse. So this is one problem that we also identified, that there's so much stuff or problems going on in the family, maybe as a result of substance abuse by either a father or maybe a mother or both, and maybe also children, ending up coming up with these negative coping mechanisms, where they end up into alcohol experimentation and all other these things. So we are thinking we can maybe support or encourage the grow the youth movement, and also to form what we call mental health clubs. Here in these clubs is where you find counselors or therapists, taking the children through some kind of education around the better vices, or better ways of actually to cope, with what they may be going through, instead of the negative coping mechanisms that they find themselves in, like the use of those drugs that may lead into further problems for the children. So the other strategy that we came up with, which is the fourth, is family preservation and empowerment. Here we are talking of, if actually this should be, one of the messaging in our churches now, if we have to actually, campaign or advocate, for that unit that we heard from the first presentation this morning, that we need to be promoting family preservation and empowerment. This can be done, to address issues of poverty or economic challenges. We know, I think it's a global issue now. These challenges are everywhere, and families are disintegrating, families are separating, and children are ending up either on the street, begging there, or maybe placed in child care facilities. So how can the church, come up with some of these strategies just to preserve that unity, and also making sure that a child never actually leaves that household. So there are so many ways. I think we heard even from the first presentation that you can come up with economic strategies, maybe teaching them how to save, savings, there's silk, there's VSLA, there are all these other things, there's entrepreneurship, skills training, positive parenting and the like. Then the last one is develop key messages around the family, referring of course or referencing documents in Father Monga's presentation. So imagine wherever I'm going and I just find it, I pick it up, I can read, because not everyone maybe will be at church on that Sunday, to listen to some of these important messages. So probably we can have pocket, I don't know what they call them, they can be put on flyers and I can just easily pick it up from anywhere, on the street or market or shops or whatever. Then I can read through and maybe I'm made to understand why actually family is the best university in life. Thank you, sister. I hope I end there.
Thank you very much, Group 2. Group 3, please.
Don't worry about the handwriting. Worry about the content. Is it good morning or good afternoon? Thank you. So we, as group 3, we are focusing on the question, what strategies can we implement to relieve or revive the family life in the context of the church? The first one that we are looking at is to strengthen partnerships and networking. Why are we looking at this? Because when we are talking about a family, it is a modest community in any location. And if a family is not linked to other families, you find that it's very difficult even to find a child. You remember very well a long time ago when a child goes astray, we would communicate with other families. Oh, until the child is what is found. This also will apply to government and other stakeholders. I'll give an example in our facility. One day I was called by social welfare officers to go and assess the child, or to go and look at a child that was about to be brought to our facility. And we had a long conversation, a heated one, that they wanted to bring a child who had autism. Then lastly, they brought him to the project. What happened? As in 3 days, we managed to locate the family and we took back the child to the family. Only to discover that the accountant within the social welfare office is the neighbor to the child, is the mother. But they complained that for 3 weeks the child was at police post. What do I mean? If all stakeholders form what we call virtual teams or WhatsApp groups, where when we have a stray child, then they are going to post a picture, because at that particular time, that is an emergency, so that we can find the child easily and be located. But find that the parent had gone to all the police stations without finding the child, only to discover the accountant is the neighbor. So we need to strengthen partnerships, to sensitization on the importance of family at church level and the community level, small Christian communities. Why do we do that? To find that in our social life, we watch movies like couples retreats and family retreats, but do we sensitize that apart from the MEs that we have? Do we have couples tentes where families discuss issues that concern them and their children? We need to do that.
engage parishes, parish priests and small Christian communities. We know that in the parish, anything that has not reached the ear of the parish priest is still illegal in the parish. So the parish priest is very important that when he receives the information, then we can have that authority even to do the sensitization, because the owner of the parish who has been given the authority over the parish, and also small Christian communities. What topics are we talking about? During this time when we have the pilgrim of hope topics that we discussed, we also discussed these, and children as children and families are also part of the pilgrims that we have. So that when we are discussing these important issues, we include the children, we include and other family members. Creation of committees of the parish on apostolate of the importance of family life. Like in our group, we gave an example of how we came up with the training for transformation and how we came up with a development education program. These programs came up in order for us to intensify and upgrade the way the church leadership was being led. What did we had to sensitize the community, sensitize parish executive, the youth structures and all the structures, and we formed groups which were called DEP, just like we have the justice and peace programs. So in the parish, if we engage the parish priests and we engage parish structures, the youth have this information, and all the parishioners will find that this program will be honored and will be given the attention it deserves.
Now, before, just on that one, the other thing we shared is that we looked at the report from Father Monga there,
yes,
where he said one priest was trained and he had a degree. But we have a test, what has been the results of that? So that was another area. So if we had started area, I think he would have moved from that stage. Because if they were involved at that beginning after those lessons, with the desk, apostolic desk, been expanded in now the larger church like ourselves here. And we were supposed to have some results. I think now we are going to be dealing already with the churches already, okay? Working at the ground with the sections, but also there should be an alternative link with the church and also with the government. Just we are discussing Catholic. What about other churches there, out there? Okay? Is there any system from the government how we will be working with this to ensure that we move together? So that's also another area that needs to be looked at. So from our church perspective, I think we haven't done much. Understanding what we are supposed to do. And also, Father...
A second, please. Just a second. You have just a second.
Second. But also, Father Monga, who we wanted to ask him some questions. He has presented very good documents on family life and so forth. Okay? So we have these priests or priests who understand more. Okay, but are they reaching to us? I think if they have that documents, yes, they would have shared with even us as a body who were supposed to be, when we are doing some operation, linking to what we are doing. So I think let's share, okay, the materials that we have, so that even when we are interacting with the government, we are also sharing what we have on board, and then we move together.
Point taken, Chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think every fire starts with a fire stick, a matchstick. That means whoever's been trained in this, as we have understood the importance of what we are doing, then we can uphold and not just complain on who has been trained, but who has carried this mantle to go and sensitize the community. Then to engage parents who are doing the adoption on protection and regularization of the way they are doing things. You know, I've never heard where we have a workshop on parents who have adopted the children before, parents who are doing fostering, have a workshop with them, share their experiences. How are they staying or living with the children that they have adopted? I think maybe other parents and other community can have the desire then to do more. Then incentives on family.
Is that the last one?
No.
You have a minute?
Yes. Incentivize family integration of children. That means we are just talking about the integration package. Very important that as we reintegrate children, that's what we do actually. That before a child is reintegrated, we prepare their needs and also empower the family so that the child should not go back to the facility or go on the street. Then family preservation, protection of children, this is what we talk about always. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for all those presentations from different 3 groups. Thank you so much. I think now we can go back to our seats, those who have joined other groups, because at this time we are going to have Mr. Chubuta to present about the alternative care. So if you feel comfortable where you are, it's fine. But if you want to go back to your seats, that's also okay. Mr. Chubuta, please. Here.
So I need to stand near these things.
Yes. As long as you don't touch them.
So that the bottle is captured. All right, thank you very much. So we'll discuss just an overview of alternative care in Zambia, but also we want to zero in onto the different alternative care options that we have. So I'll make the presentation on behalf of the ministry. I saw my boss somewhere. I need to government protocol recognize her. She's in the house, and also ZAS and everything. So my boss, Madam Sarah, is here. So I do recognize you, ma'am. Yeah, okay. So by way of introduction, that's the outline. And then we'll discuss, obviously, I will give a brief background, do a bit definition of the alternative care just to put ourselves in the context, and then we'll talk briefly about the causes of alternative care. We'll look briefly at the global and regional context in the alternative care platform, and then we'll also discuss the Zambian context in terms of the legislation and of course policies. And then we'll look at the types of alternative care, core principles, and then we'll give a conclusion. So that is how our outline looks like. So to begin with, we, as a country, we have been going through child care reforms. So that's the starting point. So Zambia has been reforming the child care system, And the point to note is that government is reducing reliance on institutional care and promoting family-based care. So that is the premise that we are working with. So if you go to that second bullet there, it's telling us that actually around 2017 thereabout, we had about more than 6,000 children in childcare facilities. But because of the efforts that have been happening, the interventions in collaboration with various stakeholders, including, of course, the Catholic Church, we have seen a reduction in that number. We just have slightly above 5,000 or even lower the children that we have in childcare facilities. So the introduction just goes to tell us that these efforts are actually bearing fruit, where the promotion of family-based care is being prioritized from the point of view of government. So we do recognize that poverty is one of the key drivers of family separation. And so the interventions have been around alleviating or implementing strategies that go towards reducing such challenges that people face that lead to family separation. So we have others such as death, chronic illness, need for education, and so forth as some of the drivers of children entering into formal care or into child care facilities. So like I mentioned, the government recognizes that the family is the best environment within which people or children actually can grow in. That is where children can be nurtured and grow up to realize and thrive integrally, that is. So institutional care is a measure of last resort. So if you look at our policies, you look at the different legislations that we have, and particularly the Children's Code Act number 12 of 2022, the emphasis is that institutional care should actually be a measure of last resort. And as government, we realize that this responsibility of providing care to children, of reuniting them, of reintegrating them, falls primarily on the government to ensure that permanent families are actually found for children. A family for every child, I think that is what our driving force is. Okay, so that is the introduction. Then we go into just understanding what alternative care is. So by way of definition, alternative care refers to care for children who are not under the care of their biological parents. So that is what alternative care is. Now, it includes various forms which we will discuss later, but for the purposes of the definition, it includes options such as institutional care itself, adoption, foster care, what else? Community-based care arrangements, particularly for children who do not have primary carers. Remember, the custody of children who cannot be taken care of by their biological parents due to different factors, and then the options given there: residential care, adoption, foster care, and other community-based care arrangements, as giving us a definition of what alternative care is. So this definition is derived from the Alternative Care and Reintegration Guidelines from the Ministry of Community Development and Social Services. So the next part is just to give us a glimpse of the causes of alternative care, some of which I have already discussed in the introduction. So these would be caused by various factors: social, economic, cultural, political factors that tend to impede the flourishing of children, the thriving of children. So these factors usually lead to family breakdown and separation through issues such as death, and these necessitate the use of other forms of care for children without a parental care. So Zambia, like I mentioned, is grappling with poverty, and that is one of the causes of institutional care. You have issues such as HIV and AIDS, child abuse, child neglect, and so on and so forth as part of the causes of alternative care arrangements. So it is a result of such circumstances that individual families, communities, and the state and other partners, including the church, have an obligation to provide alternative care arrangements so that the rights of the children are protected and they are actually enhanced. So that is briefly just some of the causes of alternative care. So let's now look at the global and regional standards of the global legislation or conventions, and also zeroing into our own pieces of legislation. So to start with, Zambia is a state party to various conventions. And key when it comes to issues of child protection is the United Nations Convention on the Rights and Welfare of the Child of 1989. And this particular convention highlights the need for special protection and care for children who are vulnerable and are at risk. So that is the convention that we can speak of in terms of internationally. And then, of course, there are other conventions such as the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, also to which Zambia is a state party, and it states primarily the same thing as the United Nations Convention on the Rights and Welfare of the Child. So it does give an obligation on the government as a state party that it needs to protect the rights of these children, but also to ensure that children grow up in families. So that's the global and regional standards. So I've just listed some of the regional standards or conventions or treaties that Zambia is a state party to, which give an obligation to states to be able to provide alternative care arrangements, and particularly to realize that children thrive and flourish in family-based care situations. So these are some of the state conventions that Zambia is a state party to. I've already spoken about the UNCRC, then the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child. We have the Hague Convention on the Protection of Children and Cooperation in Respect of Inter-Country Adoption. Then we have the Hague Convention, Civil Aspects in Respect of International Child Abduction. Then we have UN Guidelines for Alternative Care and Guidelines on Child Reintegration. And when we talk about our own framework for child protection, these are some of the pieces of legislation that we can single out. Number one is the Children's Code Act, number 12 of 2022. So this is more or less, if we speak in spiritual terms, more or less our Bible when it comes to the protection of children in the country. It does codify the law relating to children. And so we, as practitioners in the space of child protection, alternative care, we have to get to know the Children's Code Act, because it is from this act where we get direct statements. Institutional care should be a measure of last resort. Actually, that particular provision, just forgotten it now, but the particular provision does state that actually the Director of Social Welfare should ensure that he has done a search and that there is no family available for this child, for him to admit the child, or him or her, depending on who is director at that time, for them to actually admit a child in a child care facility. So it should be a measure of last resort. Other pieces of legislation include the Anti-Human Trafficking Act, Anti-Gender-Based Violence Act, Education Act, Nurseries Act, the Penal Code, Cap 87 of the laws of Zambia. And then we can discuss also the policies that are in place. So we have the National Social Protection Policy, the National Child Policy of 2015 under review, and also disability policy, alternative care and reintegration guidelines. Those of you that come from child care facilities do know the primacy or the prominence of the alternative care and reintegration guidelines. So it's one of the books that gives us a detailed process in terms of what is the flow, the case management flow chart of how we identify a child in need of care and protection, either they be in the child care facility and we want to reintegrate them, or they are from a household and at risk of separation, to try and prevent child-family separation. So quite key also as part of the guidelines. Then we have the education policy, the youth policy, and the child policy. So I now zero into what is reflected on the agenda in terms of what are the types of alternative care for children. So generally, broadly, there are various forms of alternative care for children, that is globally and also in Zambia. So we can speak of two types of alternative care, that's on a broader perspective. So informal care and formal care. So these would be at a broader perspective. So as it were, self-explanatory in terms of an informal care type of a system. So this refers to the care provided in a family environment where the child is looked after on an ongoing or indefinite basis. I think the key here is that this is an arrangement without being ordered by an administrative body or a judicial authority. So it is, there is no care order. We have not gone to court to issue a care order, or it has not passed through the formal system such as the Department of Social Welfare, where, for instance, an admission letter has been written to Mr. Jeremiah that no, now you are taking care of your niece, okay? So that is an informal process. Then we have the formal care. Now, the formal care, of course, is the inverse, right, of what I already explained as the informal care. So this would be now the ordered one by competent authorities, authorized officers, or administrative body or judicial authorities. So it includes care that is provided in a residential child care facility. So that is what those two broadly would mean. So now specifically, when we talk about the models, these ones also exist here in Zambia. We're saying that there is a family-based care approach. So I think even from the presentation from Father Monga, I was not there, but I think just from the group presentations, we would see that the focus was on a family. And it's a family-like setup, and they are prepared to be responsible adults. So the children are prepared to be responsible adults, to thrive socially and economically, and they are given a chance to realize their full potentials. So this also can be in the form of informal or formal care, okay? So in a family setup. Yeah, and then the next one, of course, is a community-based model. So this refers to a range of approaches that are designed to enable children either to remain with their own family, it can be an extended family, or within their community, okay, and prevents child-family separation in that sense. So here the emphasis is that it's a community. But this can also be in the form of a formal arrangement or informal arrangement, as I have already explained. One being one with a care order or through an administrative body. The other one is just an arrangement. Jeremiah is taking care of the niece or whoever, given that perhaps maybe the parents are not there, they are not able to provide because of the causes that I already explained above. It may be through death or maybe other circumstances that have guaranteed the arising of such a situation. The other one is institutional based. And this is a form of alternative care option that attempts to create some kind of an artificial family setting for the child. Now, most, if not all, this type is always formal because, of course, when erecting a child care facility, you have to have permission also from the government because they are the ones that superintend over child care facilities. So, in Zambia, this type of care, the institutional care, and that's why we are gathered here, is seen and viewed as a measure of last resort. So actually, thank God, I even quoted there, section 271(5) of the Children's Code Act is quite explicit in terms of this type of care. So for those of you interested in further reading, you can look at those. I've tried to be a bit of a scholar at the end, just to quote a bit, so you can make reference to those books there that I've quoted. So, what are the common alternative care models in Zambia? And we are almost coming to the conclusion. So, further, there are specific types of alternative care options for children in Zambia that can fall under the following categories. Already explained, but specifically we are saying family-based care approach can be kinship care, okay? Some of it can be informal, extended family arrangements, okay? So it could be adoption. And also with adoption, we are guided by the same piece of legislation, the Children's Code Act number 12 of 2022. And adoption can either be local, which is a domestic adoption, or inter-country adoption. Remember, I referred to the Hague Convention on civil aspects of inter-country adoption. So Zambia is a state party to that convention. So that is what guides inter-country adoption, so adoption between states. It can also be open or closed. If I adopt Samuel's son, Samuel has agreed that the son be adopted, and Samuel has said, okay, fine, I need to get to know what is happening to my child. Every step of the way, wherever the child is, open adoption. It can also be closed. Once he agrees, the parental responsibility is severed there and then, and he has nothing to do with what happens to the child thereafter. Closed adoption, as simple as that. Then it could be foster care. That's a formal arrangement, foster care, where the foster care order is actually given by the courts of law after due process of application in the Department of Social Welfare. There is also emergency foster care. We've been piloting it with AS and the other team from the CIF, CRS there. And this is temporary care where we have already trained parents that are willing to provide care for just a short period of time so that children are not deprived of the family type arrangement of care. Then child-headed homes, I think this is also a type of care that you can find also in Zambia, where children are taking care of themselves. Some of these are also on the social cash transfers from the Ministry of Community Development as a social protection measure that is provided to vulnerable populations. Then community-based approach, we have supported independent living, where if children outgrow a child care facility, for instance, and then it's through the case management processes, a home is found for them, they are in the community, and they are being supported by the powers that be through a case management approach, they can live independently. Then we have carers are willing to support children under their household within the community. So that is also another type of specific care that we find in Zambia. Institutional care, I think we've already explained this. Child care facility, where we have children's homes or orphanages. We are moving away from calling them orphanages nowadays, because some of the children, in fact, most of the children who are in child care facilities are actually not orphans. Okay, yeah, so we kind of, that's why the language is shifting towards some of them call them childcare institutions. Then we ask, in our law, we have childcare facilities. Then there is places of safety, which offer temporary shelter or emergency care facilities for children that would be in need of care. For instance, here is a child who is a victim of an offense, or they are a witness, and to protect them, we house them at a place of safety, a shelter, as maybe the processes are ongoing. They may be a victim of trafficking, for example. We do offer such facilities, and it's a form of care that is provided in the Zambian context. So, in conclusion, we reiterate the fact that children should grow up and be cared for in a family or suitable alternative care arrangements, in line, of course, with international standards, those that have given, the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, and other regional treaties and conventions, and then our national legal framework, beginning with the Children's Code Act. And then we want also to emphasize that no child should grow up without a family. So the last call is that we need to strengthen the multidisciplinary approach to providing child and family welfare services. Together, we can achieve a lot. Thank you. Thank you, sister. I have an exercise to lead the discussion. If we need the discussion, you can guide. Yes. All right. Okay. That's fine. So maybe we can get some questions now, and then I don't know.
Can you rewrite the questions, please? I just want to ask the facilities, do you have all those the policies, do we have all those in our facilities?
Yes.
All of them? Not necessarily the alternative care.
The Disability Act and all the other.
I know we have alternative care. That's much I know.
The Children's Code Act is there.
It's not too late. We can ask Mr. Chibuta. That's why he's here. Please take advantage of.
Yeah, but also you can just, it's technology now. Just Google them. You Google.
Yes, you do.
I was very disappointed when we had the case of a deaf child to discover that all the social worker officers, social welfare officers at Indora district, they don't sign up with that. And here is a child who is deaf. And they want to prepare that child to us who has no sign language government. So also capacity all franchise officers, government and us who are in institutions, so that we know how to do. If we take away disability, then our way.
Yeah, I think that's a point noted. The need to expand our horizons when it comes to capacity building of our officials in the department, so that we are able to respond maybe effectively to such concerns. I don't know if anything. Okay, yeah. It's noted. Yes,
Yes,
fine.
Father.
Yes, Sister. My concern is on the international standards to which you talked about introduction in relation to what I can call domestic standards or local standards. You talked about these, for example, Lumen Convention and the others to which Zambia is a signatory as well. Now, my concern always has been on the
All right, so what I'm getting from your question, first of all, is an issue of rights. So rights, I could bring your attention to fundamental human rights, which to give a context, these would be understood whether from the perspective of the church or from the perspective of government, for instance, that for instance the right to life. Okay, so you have those fundamental rights that you and I would be able to agree with and say, okay, right, these accrue to every human being by virtue of, first of all, being human. Okay, so I think on that platform we do agree that we are on the same wavelength. But then secondly, we have in the government system what we call a process of domestication of these laws. Okay, and in domesticating the laws, what normally happens is that we would not pick everything that perhaps is coming from a convention or something like that into our pieces of legislation. So the law would actually undergo a lot of consultation before we adopt certain definitions, and the definitions have to be contextual. Okay, they have to be contextualized to our environment. So now I think going deeper into your question. For example, we have the UNCRC that talks about rights of the child, okay? But then also we have the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child that talks about responsibilities of the child, okay? So if you read our law, for example, or the Children's Code Act, it does provide for rights of a child, it does provide for responsibilities of a child. Okay, so there is a balance between one having rights, but they also have responsibilities. There is also the responsibility of a parental responsibilities towards their children. So in essence, not everything goes when we talk about these rights. But suffice to mention that there is a process of domestication that ensures that consultation is done. But also going further, we have now the guidelines, we have the policies that explain further what needs to be done. For example, how do you interpret maybe certain clauses, simplifying further that which we call rights. So to answer the question, yes, we have the rights at international level, at convention level, but then which are domesticated, and there's a process of domestication which should actually not be repugnant with the existing laws, such as, for instance, the Constitution. So whatever we are domesticating should not be in conflict, yes, that's the term, with what we have as a nation. So in short, that is my response.
I just want to add on what Father has asked, that I'm supporting the church as well as the government, but I just want to say that somehow these policies have messed us up in an African context. Because remember how we were brought up. Sometimes our parents would beat us for certain things, but now we are not supposed to do that. An African child needs that kind of, don't do this in order for the child to understand. But we are told we are not supposed to do that, we are not supposed to do that. And then also when we look at the alternative care, there are certain things that we are supposed to follow since they're in our facilities. So there are guidelines. For example, we need to know how many lamps are we going to give the child, but in that alternative, they are measuring the nshima according to the guidelines. Instead of saying I'm going to give the child 1 lamp, it is like I don't know how many kgs or whatever is there, in our alternative care. Then when they are sleeping, there is a distance of one bed, there is whatever, all those things. So that's what I meant, that we have been messed up somehow, because we need to restructure how our facilities are supposed to be. And I think those are not our things as Africans, but they are incorporated in those like alternative care. So I think that was a very important question which we further raised.
Yeah, I think it's an important question. Maybe just briefly to respond to that. It's a very important question that Father raised, and which you coupling with what you are explaining. So for me, really, the things have to be able to speak with each other. First of all, I wanted to take the route of maybe when you say an African child, for example, should be beaten for them to understand.
Not to abuse the child, to be beaten to the extent.
So the law is not against correcting a child, but it is the way of correcting a child. If it has to be corporal punishment for the child to be corrected, then perhaps maybe we are speaking a bit of when you look at the law and also maybe the other side of things. So and also we have living documents as a government. For instance, the alternative care and reintegration guidelines as a living document undergoing review. The minimum standards of care also for child care facilities undergoing review. So those are some of the things that perhaps if we speak to them, we could include in our policies, in our standards. For example, if the guideline says you need to give 2 lumps of Mshima or 2 kg of Mshima for the child to be full or something like that. But I think the underlying thing there is that is the child perhaps having enough to eat? Is there a better way of putting that across in the guidelines than determining maybe the number of kgs? We talk about the distances in the sleeping arrangements, but is there enough room? Is a place not congested? So, but then enough room can be contested. So we are going to say, okay, what is enough room, for example? So that is what those guidelines are meant to score. But suffice to mention that I think there is need for continuous dialogue, even when we are talking about implementing the rights, we are talking about implementing these guidelines. A continuous dialogue is very, very important, so that we do not speak different languages. We are putting the other direction and the government. I'm speaking like I'm not a former priest, eh?
That's why. Father, you had something to say?
Priests are not former.
Asking parents and children, okay, what do you advise us to do, etc., etc. So there's this parent who called in and said, no, you are blaming us as parents that we are not caring enough for our children. But you are the same people with the government, that's what the parent was saying. You have given these children certain rights, which are making it difficult for us parents now to act. Like what you have said, I can't beat my child because they're going to report me to the police, and the police will come and pick me up. So what do you want me to do? Then I leave them, because that's what you want. So that's why I was talking about, we have certain liberties to localize some of these things.
Therefore,
be clear, not just put words which are not defined. Because if you say, for example, corporal punishment, leave it just like that. What do you mean by that? I can't even slap this child, then you call it corporal punishment. So define clearly what you are saying so that there is no ambiguity.
For example, I just wanted to, as a matter of a joke, maybe we can put, you can beat, but don't beat too much. In the law. I'm just asking. So can we put, for example, in the law, beat, but please don't beat too much. What's the level of beating? I have my colleagues. I have my colleagues from the government as well.
I think we have not done justice as people who are working with children, because we have not looked at this act holistically and trying to understand it. Because this act
We are discussing rights now.
and all that right is coming with the responsibility, of which many of us, we are not emphasizing the responsibility for the child. So the information is in the act, but for lack of better terms, it's like we are cherry picking. Just pick the rights and leave out the responsibilities. I've bought you a shoe. Your responsibility is to look after this pair of shoes that you bought. So it's very clear on, they are really like tabulated, but because where I'm coming from, for me to listen, they would with me. But we have to understand that some of us as parents, we have got mental health issues. Even us as who have grown up, we are able to understand and say the way we were being disciplined, sometimes it was too much. So as Clement is saying, for us to define and say the beating and the discipline, it has to be this much. How do you prove and say, back in the discipline, back it is too much. So we have to be alive to the fact that how do we apply ourselves, seeing that the life, the world is changing, and these children, they are very advanced compared to where we are. And even the things that these children are doing are way advanced. Is we need to bring in a sense of responsibility in these children. And much as it's blame is on the government saying that we have brought the rights and the children, therefore we can't discipline them. We need also to listen to the child and hear them, and together we localize, because we may be thinking what we have in the act is not sufficient. Maybe we have not applied it, so that each one of us as key players, we should take responsibility. If me as a parent, I'm going to be at the bar, if we walked, the nearest here is Mombe. We walked to Mombe, all of us, just now. Maybe just visit one or two pubs. Who are we going to find? It's the parents. And if me as a child, I'm going to be oriented like that, or abusing alcohol in the morning, even if you beat me with the strongest cane, will I change my way of life? So I feel, yes, we are right where we are feeling that children, we are not, there's so many rights, but I feel that can we, because the application which was there then and now, even in our homes, a child might challenge you, but if you have a point, the child will understand. Because I'll give an example. The child will tell me, why am I going for catechism lessons? My daughter challenged me just like that. Monday to Friday I go to school, and Saturday they're telling me that I have to go for Saturday classes. Why? So it is my responsibility as a parent to explain to my daughter why I feel that she should attend the catechism lessons, not to feel that she's being rude to me. Because she wants to understand, why am I making her? Because I don't rest. I go Sunday to Sunday. Why? When you people, you remain at home. So it's nowadays parenting is very challenging, and that's why we need skills in parenting, because the toolbox that we have then is not working now. We try and apply those skills that our parents were using. They are not applicable. So for me, I feel that we need more tools in our toolbox
so much for that contribution. Remember, we have to do this in the best interest of all. Okay, so we have to keep that in mind.
The childcare facility is the last resort. That is, I really appreciate that. But is the social welfare department really understand that is the last resort? Because that, for them, is the first resort. I'm running Lubasco for the past 24 years. I'm sorry to say, immediately, sometimes the child is coming to my facility at 22 hours. Yes, for one day, they have picked the child, brought it to our facility, that's fine. Follow-up activity. The fuel is not there, the vehicle is not there, staff is busy with social cash transfer. That's always an excuse. There should be, when we are putting down the law and regulation and the policies, is it backed up by resources? You know, it's like the facility now we have to push the social welfare department. Right? Now, why is this child is staying for a long period of time? There is one child, I can tell you, brother and the sister, stayed almost 14 years in Lubasi home. I've now taken the brother and he is staying with me in the farm. The sister has to now graduate working for Lubasi home. They couldn't trace the parents. What is the effort, serious effort, the social welfare department is taking? I think we got to ourselves. I think we discussed this over and over again. I think when the policies are discussed, that is very good for the benefit of the average child. But practical side, we got to work together. We got to consult each other. What are the practical problems the social welfare department is facing? I looked at the budget. I involved as part of the Livingston Chamber. We are looking at the funding allocation that is given to your department. Where is this funds going? There should be some accountability of the funds allocated to the social welfare department. Because if they say what they are receiving and what they are doing and what is in the blue book, yellow book, please compare that. Because the childcare facility that we are providing is we are doing for the benefit of in partnership with the government. So I read these policies, very, very good. But in practice, we are going through problems. And even in the tea time, I was telling about the practical problem that I was facing with one child. The family is prepared to take this child to their home, one-room house. The father is saying, this is the baby he rides. Children are sleeping here, they are sleeping inside. The social welfare officer says, no, I don't listen, because that is only one room. And we are telling, the other children are sleeping. Where is the training of the officers? Because we have to move together.
Thank you.
Tracing. Now, how are we tracing these families? Where is the vehicle? Have they got enough fuel? How many staff you are allocating for each the district? Are they doing the post-mortem? Are they doing the audit? Maybe we are now planning for 2020, 2026. Is the review has been properly done? So this is an appeal that I'm giving to you, because sometimes it's so frustrating from our end, even the other side.
Thank you so much for that information. I don't know if it's a question or it's the information that the social worker is.
Yeah, I think this
Okay,
is
that's the information.
mostly just information to take note of, and our team is also recording some of the actions that we may need to take in terms of the collaborative efforts. Yeah.
Okay, in the best interest of. Thank you. You are distracting me. We haven't given a clap to Mr. Chubu. Okay. Okay, Enala.
So I'll start with care orders. In the past, we used to obtain care orders from registry court. Like immediately the child would be admitted, that child for the hospital was to have admission letter, the care order for one. But now, after the new children products, there was some changes, of which that changes led to for the child to have a care order instead of going to the registry court. Now we were told it's high court, and they have to pay a fee of 750. Now my question is, who pays that money? Is it the facility or the social welfare officers or the social welfare office?
No, I think the payment part, I'm not quite sure about that one. But what we did previously, I think if you are just going there as the individual facilities to obtain the care order, it would be, I think, regarded as private individuals. But if you go as in collaboration with government, we had addressed that with the judiciary. There was no need of a payment. I think we wrote to them, and that was agreed. So maybe what you need to do is to work in collaboration with district office, even at HQ, if you are encountering maybe any challenges, so that that particular issue is resolved.
Okay, so because so far we've got two children in the facility who were brought by the office.
Okay.
Without the care order. When we requested the care order, they told us they cannot, like it must be up to pay that 750 for them to go to the high court and for us to have that document. So up to now we are stuck because the children still they don't have care orders.
Okay, yeah. So some of the cases would be on a case-by-case basis, unique cases, which I think as you can graduate them and let us know so that we try and see how we can come in from national office, but also from the provincial office. Remember, they have also provincial administration that can guide in those matters. But we can discuss maybe those, because I want to believe there are isolated cases which we can discuss and handle. Yeah.
And then the second question is about adoption. And in our facility, I think it's the second time I did adoption. And both of the cases for adoption up to now, like the moment the social welfare officers get in charge, they start with the process, the whole process. And then we're getting stuck when it comes to the court issue, because we're telling our clients to be like to look for a lawyer and pay every 15,000 kwacha. So my concern is, or my question is, like, why should our clients who are supposed to be helping us for the best interest of that child, and then the ones who are supposed to again pay that huge amount? Do you have lawyers